That small favor your manager asked for today? It may have looked harmless, but the way you answered could have taught them something important, that you will accept pressure before you question it. This is the precedent breach, a small, socially acceptable boundary violation used to measure future compliance. It might be a request at 5:05 on Friday, a personal question you did not want to answer, or an interruption in a meeting that quietly lowers your position. The request is not always the real test. Your response is, before you answer, ask, what exactly needs to happen and by when? That question slows the pressure down. Because once you accept the first breach without clarifying it, the next one no longer feels new. It feels established, and that is the small mistake. You do not need to become aggressive. You need a professional shield. For the late request, say, I can take care of that Monday morning. Then stop talking. A healthy manager adjusts, a controlling manager pushes, and that push tells you what the original request was really measuring. Here are 5 small workplace moments that can quietly become permanent expectations, and how to stop each one before the precedent forms. 1. The last-minute urgency test. It is Friday afternoon. Your work is finished. Your computer is closing. Your mind is halfway home. Then the message arrives. Can you make a few quick changes before you leave? It sounds small, but a few quick changes becomes another version. Then a call, then an evening you did not agree to give away. The mistake is not helping. Sometimes work is genuinely urgent. The mistake is saying yes before asking what must happen now and what can wait. You say, sure, no problem. Even though there is a problem, someone is waiting for you. You have plans, or you are simply finished for the day, but you hide the resentment and perform enthusiasm. That teaches the wrong lesson. Your time becomes flexible whenever someone else says, urgent. Your professional shield is, I can take care of that Monday morning, or I can finish this tonight. Which current deadline should move? Both responses are cooperative. Neither gives unlimited access. A reasonable manager clarifies the priority. A controlling manager ignores the trade-off and acts offended that you mentioned one. That reaction is the information, not the original request. 2. The public interruption test. Now you are in a meeting. You prepared the numbers, you know the point. Then your manager cuts across you. Maybe they answer the question directed at you. Maybe they repeat your idea in different words. Maybe they correct a detail that does not change the point. And suddenly the room is looking at them. You tell yourself it is not worth making awkward. So you stop. You smile. You let them finish. That feels polite, but repeat it often enough. It teaches the room that your voice can be moved aside. The mistake is not every interruption. People interrupt by accident. The pattern appears when the same person repeatedly takes your floor, redirects your point, or receives credit for the idea you were still explaining. Your professional shield is short. Hold that thought. Let me finish this point first. Then continue. Do not give a speech about respect. Do not apologize for finishing your own sentence. A healthy manager lets you complete it. A controlling manager interrupts again, mocks the boundary, or treats your sentence like defiance. That is no longer a communication accident. It is a status pattern. Time was the first boundary, and status is the second. But the next 2 tests ask a more expensive question. How much access do they have when work is already over? 3. The personal access probe. It begins like small talk. What are you doing this weekend? Who were you with last night? Why are you so private? One question can be normal, but then the questions keep narrowing. Where are you going? Who is going with you? Why did you not mention that before? You feel the conversation becoming too personal, but you keep answering because refusing feels unfriendly. Or because it is your manager and some part of you feels required to respond. The same access test can happen without a question. They glance at a notification on your screen, they pick up something from your desk. They open a file that was not offered to them. The object may be small, the access is not. The mistake is believing privacy must be justified before it can be respected. Your professional shield is, I keep my personal life separate from work. For a physical boundary, please leave that where it was. No accusation. No invented motive. Just the boundary. Casual curiosity accepts a short answer. Entitled access argues with it. It says, "We are just talking." Why are you being strange? What are you hiding? Do not defend the locked door. Let the sentence stand. 4. The availability guilt test. It is 9:47 at night. Your phone lights up. Did you see my message? You do not answer. The next morning, the first question is, why didn't you reply? Now you feel pulled into explaining your evening. You were driving, you were with family, your phone was charging, you fell asleep. The real question is, were you required to be available? If you were on call, that expectation should be clear. If you were not, it should not be created through guilt. The mistake is apologizing for a boundary that was never wrong. Your professional shield is a timing decision. Reply during working hours. I saw your message this morning. Here's the information. That is enough. No autobiography, no apology for having an evening. A healthy manager accepts the answer. A controlling manager often responds to ordinary unavailability as if it were disloyalty. Once again, the push is the proof. 5. The sympathy transfer. This is the hardest one because it activates something good in you. Your manager looks overwhelmed. They tell you about the deadline, the staffing problem, the client, the pressure above them. You understand. Then the request appears inside the story. Could you take this one thing off my plate? But it is not one thing. It is a project. A responsibility outside your role, or work that now sits beside everything you already have. You agree, because saying no feels cruel. They trusted you. They are struggling. You do not want to make the day worse. The mistake is confusing compassion with unlimited capacity. You can understand someone's pressure without absorbing it. Your professional shield is, I can help. Which of my current priorities should move? That question makes the cost visible. A legitimate request survives it. The manager chooses what changes. The deadline moves. The responsibility is documented. But pressure without accountability often collapses when the trade-off must be named, because what they wanted may not have been a priority decision. It may have been invisible labor, your time, your stress, your evening, their problem disappearing without any record of what it cost you. Now look at the 5 moments together: time, status, access, availability, capacity. None begins with a dramatic demand. That is why the pattern is easy to miss. One late request becomes normal Friday behavior. One interruption becomes the way meetings work. One personal answer becomes access to every detail. One nighttime reply becomes availability. One act of sympathy becomes your new workload. And this is where precision matters. Not every late request is manipulation. Not every interruption is a power move. Not every personal question is an invasion. The test is what happens when you give a calm, reasonable boundary. Do they adjust or do they push? Do they discuss the work or attack your character? Do they clarify the priority or demand that every priority remain unchanged while your workload expands? You do not need to diagnose the person. You need to read the pattern. Your mistake was not being helpful. It was allowing one helpful moment to become an unlimited rule. A professional shield does not create conflict. It reveals whether conflict was already built into the request. So when the small favor arrives, slow down. Name the timeline, finish the sentence, protect the private detail, answer during working hours, ask which priority should move. The request is not always the real test. Your response is. And when a calm boundary does not work, the next pressure often arrives as hurt feelings. Suddenly, your limit becomes their injury. Your professionalism becomes cruelty. And your guilt becomes the new way through the door. That is the next test. And it is the video you need to watch next.